The Grind, a Minnesota sports podcast.
It's been 12,315 days since the Minnesota Twins lifted the World Series trophy into the skies as Jack Morris went 10 innings. And we are going through different paths to break the curse. Welcome to the show. My name is Tim, and I'm the host of The Grind, a Minnesota sports podcast. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button as well so that we can introduce this podcast to more people. Thank you for subscribing if you do already. Over 4,000. I appreciate it. This started from nothing, and here we are building it up. It's a one-man show, hosted, produced, all of it. So thank you. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, hit that follow button, rate, review the show as well. All right. Couple of things to talk about today. J.J. McCarthy. Why he is unbustable. I don't think it's possible for J.J. McCarthy to be a bust in the NFL. And I'm going to explain why. Plus, Byron Buxton says, I'm staying a Twin for the rest of my life. Last week, I wondered why. But this week, I respect it. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. But first, I need to tell you about 5-Star Bath Solutions of Minneapolis, because they transformed our bathroom in 48 hours. I'm talking about the whole enchilada. We had an ugly floor, a disgusting shower with mold, a step going into the shower. Our countertops were old and nasty with a vanity and a mirror that was outdated. The entire bathroom was outdated. And in 48 hours, they gave us the masterpiece of our dreams. And we had our bathroom back. Don't wait 8 weeks for a bathroom project to get done when it can get done in 48 hours. New floor. We went from a single to a double sink. New countertops and vanity. New mirror. New shower, tub, and surround. All done in 48 hours. And we had our bathroom back like that. 5-Star Bath Solutions of Minneapolis offers free consultations and affordable payment plans. 5-Star Bath Solutions of Minneapolis. What are you waiting for? Get your bathroom done in 48 hours. All right. J.J. McCarthy was seen throwing the football with T.J. Hawkinson as training camp is on the verge of beginning. And that's not anything out of the ordinary, because you see quarterbacks all the time in the offseason throwing to their wide receivers and getting reps in and getting training in with their guys. So it's not that in and of itself does not blow me away completely. It does show a dedication. It does show a willingness to get better, form those relationships, because although it's just throwing to a wide receiver, although so many quarterbacks do it, you still got to do it. There's still plenty of QBs that don't. And here's the video of McCarthy throwing to Hawkinson. Hawkinson shirtless. McCarthy's throwing the ball with his hat backwards. And good throws. It's a 10-second video on Hawkinson's Instagram page. It just shows a willingness of McCarthy. But here's why I don't think McCarthy will be a bust in the NFL. Now, there's a difference between being a bust and not being a bust and being a great player. And you are drafting a top 10 quarterback in the draft to be a great player. You're drafting and selecting a QB number 10 overall to be a great player. But here's why you won't bust. McCarthy works his ass off too much to be a bad football player. Last year, when he was injured, and he could have just rehabbed his knee, got it back 100%, we were told that McCarthy studied tape on every single NFL defensive player so that he will be ready and prepared for them when the Vikings meet that opponent. I do not have to worry about McCarthy playing an hour or two of video games because he is so inundated with his preparation, mentally and his preparation physically. We're at a point when I watch McCarthy prep, when I see his everyday habits or hear about him, and I see him throwing to wide receivers in the offseason. Football is J.J. McCarthy's obsession. And if I'm being 100% honest, which this podcast is 100% honest 100% of the time, if I'm McCarthy's fiance or a friend of McCarthy, and this is his obsession, I would honestly tell him to chill out a little bit. Because being obsessed with the game of football is not always a good thing. There should be appropriate balance to a professional and personal life. And I think and believe that although Kirk Cousins got ridiculed and criticized for taking Tuesdays off, for having a Sabbath, I believe Kirk Cousins had the perfect balance of being a professional quarterback and a husband and a dad. Because we see these players as professional athletes. That's all we see these guys as. All we care about is how they perform on the football field. We don't give a rat's you know what about their personal life. But I do. And I see the other side. I think about the other side. Having appropriate balance between a professional football life and having the balance as a husband, as a dad, as a follower of Jesus is really important as a player and as a coach. I don't know how much balance McCarthy has because he's obsessed with the game, but because of that obsession, I think it's impossible for J.J. McCarthy to be a complete bust. It does not mean he is going to be a great top 5 QB, but if you work your butt off at anything, if you work around the clock, busting your balls to be great at something, it's almost impossible to be a bust at whatever it is you're working around the clock for. And that's J.J. McCarthy in football. I remember when I lived in Washington, D.C. from 2016 to 2019, I went out there for a part-time job at SiriusXM Radio, and I worked around the clock to try to get full-time. Between working different jobs and doing different things, making an income so I could pay rent for $1,500, and I was there at night, I was there in the morning, I didn't sleep, and eventually I found success in the field that I was working to find success in. And it's the same thing for McCarthy. He works around the clock to be a good football player, physically, mentally, and because of that, I don't think it's possible for J.J. McCarthy to be a bottom feeder in the NFL. At worst case scenario, J.J. McCarthy is an average QB that can't quite get their team over the hump. Worst case scenario, I see J.J. McCarthy as a Tua Tagovailoa. The problem with this worst case scenario is that I also see it as the most likely scenario. Because I think what we oftentimes do is we comp quarterbacks. McCarthy is John Elway. I saw that somewhere. McCarthy is fill in the blank for whatever quarterback you want to fill in. He is about to lead his team to a Super Bowl. He's about to carry the Vikings to Super Bowls over and over and over again. And the problem with that is that it doesn't take into consideration just how challenging it is to win Super Bowls. And I think it's fair to analyze comparisons and look at them objectively. Let's simplify it. Do you expect McCarthy to be as good an NFL QB as Kirk Cousins is or was? Because that in and of itself is asking a lot. Here's another comparison. Do you expect J.J. McCarthy to be as good a QB as Brock Purdy? He's already played in 2 Super Bowls. Sure, he had a great team around him, but Brock Purdy has already had a chance at 2 Super Bowls. And then you think about it in this way. When Joe Burrow made his first Super Bowl a few years ago, everybody goes to this immediate thought. Oh, he's going to be there for years and years and years and years to come. Oh, this is just the beginning. He's going to have plenty of more opportunities. Is he? Just because you make a Super Bowl and lose does not mean you're going to make plenty more Super Bowls and have a chance to win. For many quarterbacks, it's a one-time, one-shot opportunity. Just because Joe Burrow made the Super Bowl and lost to the Rams a few years ago does not mean Joe Burrow is going to make it to the Super Bowl moving forward. And he's a top 5 QB in the league. So we also need to ground our expectations for McCarthy. Because in our minds, we're thinking, oh, Super Bowl here, Super Bowl there. We're going to go on a Super Bowl generational run. But winning a Super Bowl is way tougher than really anyone could imagine. Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, these guys make it look easy when it's not. So to think that McCarthy is just going to walk in and strut his stuff and win a Super Bowl is a little outlandish in your thinking. Maybe he can. Maybe J.J. McCarthy can play average football and win the Super Bowl because the Vikings team is so good around him. But let's not say McCarthy is going to be the next coming of John Elway or Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady, because it negates or disrespects the challenge that it is to win a Super Bowl. And although his bottom is an average QB in the NFL, that also might be his most likely position. I don't think McCarthy can reach top 5 QB status. Where I think McCarthy eventually ranks in the NFL is exactly, this is best case scenario, is exactly where Kirk Cousins was. Is he a top 10 quarterback? Or is he like 13th? Is he a top 10 guy or is he 12th? Where does McCarthy rank among QBs? I think his peak is like Kirk Cousins, where it's like, are you borderline top 10? You're kind of there, but you're kind of not. So, although he's unbustable, I don't know or believe if McCarthy is top 5 either. All right. Byron Buxton played in the All-Star game, home run derby, answering questions, and this is what he had to say about the trade deadline.
Kind of around 500 trade deadline coming, just question about whether to buy or sell. Do you pay attention to those rumors?
I mean, I see them, but they don't dictate what we got to do on the field to get ourselves right.
Have you talked with any higher ups about your own status and what they think?
About what?
Whether you'll be traded or whether you'll...
I can't be traded. I got a no-trade clause. I'm a Minnesota Twin for the rest of my life. So that's the best feeling in the world, knowing I get to walk into a clubhouse and it's going to say Twins for the rest of my life.
And so you won't... Wait a minute. You're going to stay right there.
I'm a Twin. That's home.
But first, before I talk about Byron Buxton, 952-491-1541 for the best rotationally grazed, 100% grass-fed beef. And what's so beautiful about Hoagland Farms beef, talking about Hoagland Farms, is that their beef is cheaper than grocery stores and it's healthier than grocery stores. I bought for $4.30 a pound. You go to the grocery stores, and here's the deal. $4.30 a pound for their steaks, for their chuck roasts, for everything. Go to a store and you try to buy a chuck roast, it's like $8 a pound. And this is 100% rotationally grazed, 100% grass-fed beef. Hoagland Farms, 952-491-1541. Tell Jared you heard about it on The Grind, a Minnesota sports podcast. All right. Byron Buxton, his comments. Last week, I was wondering why. Why do you want to stay with the Twins when you could chase a World Series title with the Phillies or with Boston or Yankees or whoever? I don't care. And he's playing his best baseball of his career. He's hitting and playing defense at a level that we've always known he could achieve, but has never been healthy enough consistently to achieve it. You look at Buxton, and it's clear and obvious that the guy has talent. It leaps off the page. He just never has been healthy. And last week I was questioning, why don't you want to take this one opportunity where, when you've been healthy, to make a run at a World Series title? But today I have a fresh perspective. And today I respect Buxton's decision to say, no, I'm staying a Minnesota Twin for the rest of my life. Because I look at things from a different perspectives. There's the fan perspective where, oh, chase titles, win World Series, be happy, get a ring, chase, win, go after it. And then I look at things from the personal perspective. And I talked about this earlier with McCarthy and Kirk Cousins. Buxton has a wife. Buxton has a kid. And he also has a no-trade clause. If his wife and kid and himself are happy being in Minnesota for the rest of their life and being a Minnesota Twin forever, what's wrong with that? Sure, the Twins may never win a World Series for the foreseeable future. But if Byron Buxton is content being a Minnesota Twin and living a life filled with contentment because his family is happy to live and reside in Minnesota, if that's where they're comfortable, I actually respect his decision to stay put more than putting his family at risk or in an uncomfortable spot by moving them somewhere for a year and then you're traded and then you move them again. So the fact that he wants to stay a Minnesota Twin and he eventually will go down as a player that could get his number retired because he stayed in Minnesota. And that in and of itself can be as valuable to a player as a World Series title. Because let's face the truth here. Let's come face to face with the truth. Players, okay, cool, you won the World Series. And you can always have that on your forever resume. Who won the World Series 9 years ago? I have no damn idea. I have no flipping clue. Yeah, Jack Morris won the World Series in 91, and so did Kirby Puckett, and so did those boys. Who won the World Series 24 years ago? No idea. Sure, Derek Jeter, World Series champion. You can name some players. Alex Rodriguez. You name a player, and in your mind, they're a World Series champion. Cool, good for them. Who gives a shit? The fact that Buxton wants to stay put and be content with being a Minnesota Twin is a decision we should respect way more than we already do. Because he is putting his family's life of being content, of being happy, ahead of chasing a World Series ring when that could lead you who knows where. That could lead you to unhappiness and discontentment because then you got a crabby wife and a kid who are living in an area that they don't want to live. And I respect Buxton's decision to, say, you know what? I'm happy here. And I'm not going to be like the rest. I'm staying here, and I'm going to be happy to be a Twin because we love it here, and we're staying here. So anyone that criticizes me and says I should move, screw you. I'm staying. So that mentality and that decision to stay put, I love it. And I think it's very cool. And I respect it way more than a player that goes from team to team to team to team during the final 5 years of his career to chase a championship. When fans would say, that's just a player that loves the game, just trying to win a ring. I say, oh, it's almost a little pathetic because of how you're getting there and who you're putting in situations that they don't want or that are full of stress. So it's a cool decision, and I respect that decision. All right, everyone, thank you for watching and listening. Remember, 5-Star Bass Solutions of Minneapolis and Hokeland Farms Beef, 952-491-1541 for the best rotationally grazed 100% grass-fed beef. Thank you for choosing this podcast today, and I hope I delivered. Hit that subscribe button, rate and review the show, hit that like button. Have a good day.